Welcome to Sebastian Practice Sessions. We practice our motorcycle slow speed operation skills weekly here in Sebastian, Florida, using Robert Simmons' Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle 9 exercises, which contain invaluable road skills. Everyone is welcome regardless of skill level or riding experience. We narrate through the exercises so you can get a clear understanding of the intent of each exercise, our individual challenges with each one, and where we are looking to improve. We always have a great time, support each other, and get a little bit better every time we practice. We hope you enjoy this session, and we hope you pick up a useful nugget or two. Thanks for joining us.
It is Saturday, February 8th. This is practice session 72. I'm not sure it'll even be a practice session because Lori's not here. And it's just not the same without Lori and her camera and her video expertise. So we're gonna have some fun. Rich is coming, Warren's coming. Don't know who else, but it's gonna be a beautiful Saturday. It's a little foggy today. Fred's all cleaned up. I got the house to myself. Not that that matters, I could clean it anytime, but I got bored and lonely, so I cleaned up Fred. Anyway, we'll set the cones up and we'll get rocking.
Just a few words on the video today. Again, we don't have Lori, so I did not do any footage of exercises 1, 2, and 3. Picked it up with exercise 4, and I had a little bit different camera. I had our GoPro 360. I put that on the tripod. And so it's a little bit of a different perspective, a little bit different angle, but I think some good footage, and we had some really nice practice session moves and even some breakthroughs. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoy it. A nice short video today.
Friction zone, we're fine, but holy shit, turning? I don't like that, Rob. Nothing changes.
All right, we've got 3 attendees with us today. All 3 of them are excellent riders, longtime practitioners. We have Rich on his 2015 Fat Boy. We have, which he's named Shithead. We have Warren here, who lives in Melbourne, who has a 2018 Road King Police that he has named Ghost, and Mike from Vero Beach in a, God, I don't even know what year that thing is. I think it's about a 15 or a 16 BMW RT 1200, another police bike, former police bike. So these 3 cats are good, and what we're going to see is some really good lefts and rights. What I did, and then there's me on my 2017 ultra classic named Fred, because he's just a kind of a gunboat. Fred just is a good name for him because Fred just don't care. And what I did this time, unbeknownst to the fellas, is I made this lane more narrow. So instead of the normal 7 feet, I moved it into about 6 feet. And as you can see, it doesn't even matter. So these guys are nailing it. Sometimes they'll get on top of the cones a little bit, but very, very good operators, these guys. I kept the duration pretty short here, and again, just for any people new to the channel, new watching this, we are practicing 9 exercises as outlined or prescribed by the Be the Boss, Robert Simmons' Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle YouTube channel. So excellent slow speed operation practices. We are enamored with our slow speed practice. We think it really helps us become better and safer, more effective operators on the road. So this exercise in particular is left turns, and these are 3 different sets of left turns. One is straight through, the second one is stopping before the turn, the third one is stopping before and after the turn. So the objective here is to make sure that the motorcycle is straight up and down. We're not doing momentum turns. What we're doing is keeping some light pressure on the rear brake. We're keeping the RPMs up at 1800 to 2000, and we're working at our dexterity inside of that friction zone. So the motorcycle is pulling us through these turns, head and eyes to the camera, then handlebars, and making a nice, very slow left turn, straight up and down. Again, we can do these left turns. I was trying to hug the inside cone there, so I went a little wide. We can do these turns, if we practice it like this, on any surface. So if it's literally sand or gravel, anything like that, we can still maintain this because we're maintaining sufficient power to the rear wheel. We're not coasting or using momentum. We're just using the motorcycle's engine to keep us under power and nice and easy through these turns. So now Mike's starting us off with the stop. The stop and go is a little bit more of a challenge, right? Because you have to get, especially if you stop right at the cones or even beyond the cones, because you have to get into the friction zone, the correct friction zone right away, and then get it around so you're still inside the lane. So it's not anything resembling gliding or just tweaking. We're starting from a dead stop. So it requires us to turn the handlebars ahead of time. Usually, if we really want to move it forward, then you got to start it with the handlebars all the way locked. A full locked stop from start from a stop is more of a challenge. And we are about challenging ourselves here because the parking lot is the place to challenge ourselves, right? It's not on the road. It's not trying new things and trying to develop new skills on the road. The road is the game. The parking lot is the practice. We're building habits and building skills in parking lots so we can run over cones and we can go long in the lanes without worrying about oncoming cars or obstacles, etc. Practicing habits. So Warren has been to many of Robert Simmons' practice sessions. In fact, that's where we first met Warren, Lori and I. Mike and his BMW has also been to a number of Robert's practice sessions up in Pooler. And here's Mike, and did really, really well. Although he has never made the 18-foot top of the Snowman, that's exercise 9, until today. So today was the first day he made that. And Rich has not been to a Be the Boss practice session, but he is registered for March 1st when Roberts comes to Space Coast, Harley Davidson here in Palm Bay, Florida, just a little bit north of where we live and where we're practicing here in Sebastian. So a little bit of a lean there. We're working on having it straight up. There's something around where you place your body. It varies based on the individual, but the level of counter sitting. So Warren really counter sit. See that? He's just stretching that arm out. We're keeping our bodies straight up and down.
So you take a right-hand turn at an intersection and you go wide on it. What happens is you're in the lane of the oncoming traffic when you do that. And that's where a lot of times you're not looking, first of all, where you go. So there could be a car approaching.
That's an excellent visual there. A little clip that Lori put in an earlier video. We really, it's practice time and it's play time kind of, but we really have to remember and keep in mind that we're building habits on the road. You take a wide right turn, just like in that clip, and you got real problems. So we're trying to avoid real problems. We're trying to, as Robert puts it, we're trying to simply increase our options on the road. We're increasing our options. Should a need arise to be highly skilled at maneuvering our motorcycle, this is where we practice that. So I countersat a little too much. I got a little too left on that bike as I was trying to turn right, and the lesson there is to clutch out. So we're not grabbing our clutch and hitting the brakes and hoping for the best. We're maintaining the power and we're throttling out of it, clutching out. Warren's exceptionally good at these exercises. He hadn't practiced in months and months, and he picked it right up. So just trying nice and easy. I was trying to get to the inside of the cone there, and I clipped her. Rich, nice and smooth. You can see he's on the outside of that lane there because I moved the lane in a foot. So he normally would have made it quite easily, but that's good. That's a little extra practice. Again, Warren on the outside. That's about a 6-inch wide lane there. Makes it a little bit tougher. It's okay. We're looking to level it up. I really screwed that up. I was looking for brakeless. Brakeless is a challenge because it typically carries me far across the lane, which happened. Rich figuring it out. Maybe a little more brake pressure. Bring that thing right around. So nice slow approach. We're using friction braking to approach the intersection here, our make-believe intersection. So it's not rushing up to it and just trying to whiz around the turn. It's not can you make the turn at any speed. It's can you make the turn inside of the practice, the requirements of these exercises. Again, it's keeping the engine RPMs at a steady level that are elevated from idle. Typically, we like to say 1,800 to 2,000 RPMs. And we're working with that clutch friction zone, the engagement point of the clutch, in and out of that clutch friction zone. A lot of times we have people, we have riders who think of the clutch lever as an on-off switch. The clutch lever is not an on-off switch. It's not either engaged or disengaged. There are many levels of engagement in that clutch lever, and if that really could be understood by riders, it would be a huge help to them. Too many times when the bike starts to move, a rider will just let the clutch all the way out. Way too much speed to do things like this. A little bit of a lean there. Wow, there's Warren. That's incredible. That is an outstanding turn. So exercise 5, this may be a little bit of a tough angle. I got a little bit of a zoom in, but what we're really trying to convey is the motion desired or required by this exercise, right? So this is the first exercise. We're introducing leaning. So we're taking what we learned in exercises 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're incorporating a little bit of a lean. So we're still in the clutch friction zone. We're tweaking a little bit in and out of that clutch friction zone as we're moving. As the saying goes for this exercise, start wide, stay wide. So we want to take a wide swing through the center of the cones in order to get used to, familiar with the transition of the handlebars left to right. We've got to be comfortable leaning the bike and kind of swooping it left and right. Our head and eyes are straight, looking to the camera, so our bodies are straight up. Really getting some good lefts and rights here. Again, these guys are really good. No beginners today, which is fine. I don't even know what happened there. I was trying, I'm working on brakeless here. I think Rich does brakeless a lot of the times, as does Warren. A little bit more of a challenge. It's just getting the bike moving. It's obstacle avoidance for sure. So we're working on, if we encounter something on the road, how adept are we at moving the motorcycle around, including managing our speed. Maybe we need a little more speed based on the lean angle we're at. Maybe we need to trim some speed using our rear brake because we're coming up on that cone a little too fast, that next cone a little too fast. We've all heard the saying from riders, there was nothing I could do, I had to lay her down.
Oh, the truck was moving.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, he hit his brake,
yeah.
and I had to lay it down.
We hear that all the time. Now, I'm not saying, no one's saying that practicing these exercises will keep you away from the danger, but there are some more options available that we can incorporate into our toolbox when something happens. When someone puts their brakes on in front of us, and the only thing that we know how to do is panic and grab all the brakes and lay her down. Got to be clear, a little bit in the weeds here, but a motorcycle on its metal goes faster than it does on its tires. That, of course, kind of makes intuitive sense, right? You gotta to just lay it down actually gets you moving faster, because your tires, the things that grip the road the best, are not touching the road. So we just want to work on options. We work on dexterity, work on mastering the maneuvering of our motorcycle. Obstacle avoidance, even potholes, turtles. Goodness, Florida's full of turtles on the road. Sadly, we see too many of them mushed on the roads. We want to get around those things. You know, it's different when it's a truck, but when you're a motorcycle encountering a larger turtle, you don't want to mess around with that. So, increasing our options, practicing maneuvering our motorcycle.
I want you to treat this like a gravel road, because that's when this skill comes in. Another thing practice gives us is options. Sometimes those options are connected to some sort of emergency. Sometimes it's just simple stuff, like making a turn, making a U-turn. If you feel uh-oh in any of those circumstances, that's a problem. You need to work on it, right?
The U-turn's 27 feet, cone to cone, 18 feet from the cone to the little green dudes there, our little MSF cones. A little bit tough to see. Hopefully the angle's good. Again, a little bit of a different camera perspective. But the practitioners today are all quite good at maneuvering the U-turn. So you can see that the speed is important. We want to have a consistent speed throughout the U-turn. Does that make sense? We don't want to get up to the top, go super slow, and then swoop it and fast move it through. We want to have steady everything, right? We want small inputs, small moves, smooth operations in the motorcycle. Uncharacteristic of Rich there. He cut it a little too short for the power that he had going to the rear wheel and put his foot down. Kind of a no-no. We all know that, but tough habit to break. So that's crazy. I mean, that's a, I don't know, 17-foot U-turn, maybe. I mean, maybe that. We're pulling them off pretty well today. Rich often struggles with his left U-turns, but he, most of them on this day, he's nailing inside the 18s. So an 18-foot U-turn is not necessary. We practice proficiency at an 18-foot U-turn so we can be like really sure that when we have to do a U-turn on a 2-lane country road, which is typically 24 feet, that we got that all day long. Like you can even have something weird happen and you can correct yourself and still be inside of 24 feet if we're pretty proficient at the 18s. So the key here is, as you can see, Warren, is to get moving into the turn, to commit to the lean and get the handlebars turned as quickly as possible. So you wait too long and it just carries you forward, right? It just doesn't make sense. You got to get that thing to come around. Think about this in terms of the real world applications, right? We had I had one person, being honest. It's not a overwhelming number of people, but there have been a few people actually that have said, why do you need to practice U-turns like this? I can just I recommend just going straight and then finding a parking lot or someplace to turn around in, and that's their reality, and that's fine. I happen to strongly disagree with that, as I often say. For example, in the real world moves at the beginning of this section, you saw U-turns that Lori and I did at the end of a 2-lane country road that went to dirt. Well, you don't have the opportunity to keep going straight and look for a parking lot. You don't have cross traffic or cars to worry about running up behind you or oncoming. You had great visibility, but guess what? You got to turn that bike around. And I left that one in so I could illustrate, as Robert was talking, narrating in a different practice session, about walking it around in a turn. So that was one that was some bumpy terrain, and I got a bad start. So to my kind of embarrassment, I had to check up, and I was forced to back it up and kind of walk it around, which is not what we want. And Lori was able to, of course, drill out a good U-turn. So that's the real world. Those are the real world skills that we're looking at building. It's just the basic ability. We're not doing rodeo competitions here, right? We're not interested in that. It's to be proficient at real world moves on the road. Said another way, when we are on the road, we're taking a ride, whether it's a day ride or an 11,000 mile ride. We took 2 of those this summer. We feel quite confident that there's no situation we're going to encounter that we are incapable of maneuvering through. We rode through, my accident, miles of mountain pass dirt roads just to get back to where we needed to be. Not ideal, but we were able to do it because the rules are the same. As Robert says, the rules don't change. And what are the rules? Proper RPMs, called preloaded. Keep it loaded. Make sure that your motor has the power ready to go when you need it. Clutch at the friction point. You're mastering that friction point. A little bit of a drag on the rear brake if you need it. If you need it to trim your speed. It's maintaining the power, sufficient power to your rear wheel that will allow the bike, will demand that the bike stands up and will not fall. Robert often guarantees all participants twice their money back, whatever it is, if your bike falls and it has sufficient power to the rear wheel. It's like kind of a joke because it will never happen. So this and all of these exercises teaches us the dexterity and the maneuverability around sufficient power to the rear wheel as we're having the bike do different things, right? Starts off going straight. It starts off stopping and starting, going straight. Then it brings us to turning, right? Introducing turns, left and right turns. Then we introduce the single serpentine. We're moving around cones. And into this number 6, where we're just extending all of those into a U-turn, into a nice, tight, smooth U-turn. I mean, Rich has been attending our practice sessions, I don't even know, gotta be for a year. And long-time dirt bike rider, long-time motorcycle rider, but hadn't practiced these. And you know what? A little rough, just like we all were when we first started. But now you can see masterful at the slow speed operations. So we'll watch Warren. He's practicing at starting that lean. See that lean? Almost before he even moves, he kind of lets that bike, it's weird to kind of say it, but he lets it fall a little bit to the left and he catches it with the clutch. That's a more advanced move, but this is the place to practice those things, right? This is the practice area, not the game area. Mike, nice and smooth. So you want to come out of that straight, right? Ideally, you don't want to hold the curve. You don't want to keep turning. You want to come out and straighten it up into a nice straight line. That was kind of like that. So we're holding that straight line, then we're turning. A lot of people will start, I don't know if you caught the practice session where some new people arrived, like my brother Scott or Jeff or a number of other newer riders, to these exercises will start the U-turn right away. Like as soon as they get to that first orange cone, they kind of start cheating or angling toward the direction of the turn. You don't want to do that, right? You're holding a straight line. Again, all these riders are accomplished. So you're going straight until it's time to turn, and when you turn, you turn. Like you get right after the turn and you bring that bike around. It seems a little scary, maybe, to a newer rider until you get real comfortable that you have sufficient power to the rear wheel. Again, can't say it enough. RPMs at the right level, 1800, 2000. You got a little bit of drag on the rear brake if you need it, and get that clutch right at that friction point. So it's just, the bike is just loaded with power, and you're just moving it on a right U-turn in this case, and bringing it around. It's not scary. It's not like a pucker. Oh my God, I hope I make it. After you do this enough times, right, you just become familiar enough with it. Maybe you don't make the 18 every time, but you still feel good about the process and the movement. Not scary. So just a quick trip through exercise 7, the figure eights. Again, we're extending the exercises. So now we're extending a U-turn. Here's a right U-turn, right? Think of that right U-turn, that he holds it for another, 30, 40 degrees probably, and transitions it to a left U-turn. So it's really just a right U-turn, but you're holding it much longer to a left U-turn. And the name of that game is transition. So watch Rich and his relative perspective to each side. He's doing a little stop and go here. That's a little level up. But see how inside he is there. And then he will cut it a little closer and he gets long there, right? So that tells us, just like with me, is one side of the U-turn is more comfortable than the other. Same with me, except it's opposite. My rights are worse than my lefts. But this is where we practice. That was a really good stop and go. That's just a little more of a level up, right? As you can imagine, we're stopping the motorcycle, not putting our feet down. The wheels come to a complete stop, then we're letting the clutch back out again and going before the bike tips over. So Mike, nice and smooth. You see a contrast with between Mike and Rich. Rich is fast. Rich does this move fast. He likes it, and he'll get that fat boy's floorboards a dragon, which is not the objective, right? It's not like a bragging point. He just likes a little more speed. It's more fun. So he's working on that. That's not our goal, to be dragging our boards. It is, however, really good to get comfortable and familiar with that sound and that feeling. I still get a jolt. I imagine Rich does too. When you're on the road, you're making a corner somewhere and that thing touches. It's unnatural. Like it'll put a shock in you. And the problem when you hit your boards, you touch your boards, is you want to kind of stand the bike up. Well, you don't want to do that when you're taking, for example, you're on a right-hand turn or a curve in the road. You don't want to straighten up and go into oncoming traffic. So we're getting used to how it feels to touch the boards to the ground, how it feels. Like, okay, mental note, that's the max lean angle at this speed that I can bring it to. What's that feel like? So next time I get close to it, I can expect a little feeling of hard parts, metal floorboards touching the ground. All excellent practices. So as I say every time, I'm always working on having the bike not fight itself at all. That's something that I worked on when I first started to learn how to do this. I was heavy on the brake and heavy on the clutch, so it was like a safety blanket for me. So now I'm working on better dexterity, less clutch engagement, and less rear brake pressure, so I can just move it smoothly. My rights are less tight than my lefts usually, But I'm working on that. It has everything to do with the placement of my head and shoulders when I'm doing my right turns. I usually like to try to shift my body over. I like to counter sit a lot. That's what works for me. So always in the learning, always trying to improve. Exercise 8, offset double serpentine. So it's, imagine, it's offset. So it's single serpentine, except the cones are offset. They're requiring a much more of a transition and a turn and a lean. The trick here, or the objective here, is to hold that turn, and then actually you're kind of coming back before you enter the next gate. Also working on nice tight U-turn here. We're never not in the exercises, ever. So Rich holding it nicely. You want to hit, so we add some cones here to make it more narrow, so Rich is hitting the narrow cones. Just a little more of a level up to make it a little bit tougher. I would challenge most riders, unless they're seasoned motor officers, to be bored doing these 9 exercises with us. There's always a level up. There's always something we can do to make it more of a challenge. So this has been a long time for Warren. So he's being a little more methodical here, just kind of getting used to this movement again. He's done this many times, but it's been a number of months since he's done it. So he's getting it down, and he's taking the narrow path as well, which is, it's more of a challenge. More of a challenge in the friction point, keeping those RPMs up. Warren's excellent with that. Really nice U-turn there. Bringing it around. See his head and eyes. So you're always looking where you want to go, not where you've been, or certainly not where you don't want to go, because it's some kind of magic that the bike will go where you're looking. Nice job making through it with Warren. Here comes Mike. I asked him to hold on a second. I wanted to get a little bit of a different camera perspective. Extending the Insta 360 selfie stick, getting that GoPro 180 up, kind of a aerial view down. Just trying to get a little bit of a different perspective for the viewer to see how the movement of the bike is. Right, so we have all three of our participants going. Nice movement. Oh, coming back. You want to hit those cones, hit that, we call it a gate. Hit that gate going forward, right? You don't want to hit the gate while you're still in your transition. That's when the hold it part of it is highly beneficial. So let's see if they hold it. Or Mike does a nice job holding it. Rich cuts it a little bit close. Warren cuts it a little bit close. They're all three really, really good, but it's just, see, Rich gets a little long there, right? And he doesn't bring it back enough. I do the same thing when someone's behind me. Watch Warren cut it short. That's control. See, Warren basically stopped without putting his feet down, waited for Rich to clear, and then went through the narrow gates. Really, really good. That's the practice. Let's see what Fred's up to. Geez, I wonder what I'm focusing on. I'm always focusing on being more nimble, being lighter on the bike. I'm a bigger cat. I'm 6'9", and Fred's a bigger dude as well, right? He's an ultra classic. That bike, I believe empty is 875, something like that. So call it 900. I got a bunch of tools and crap in my trunk, so the bike's all at 900, 950, and that's fine, right? It's a great bike. It's highly maneuverable. I will say that Harley Davidson, these bikes are quite balanced. This is my first Harley Davidson that I've owned, and while I'm the jury is still out, I can't say that they've been the most maintenance-free motorcycles that we've ever had. Lori's, especially her Street Glides, but well balanced, and they handle quite well, certainly for their size. So here's me. Lumbering dude. I'm trying not to be a lumbering motorcycle rider, so I'm here focusing on, I want to have quicker transitions. I want to be able to shift the motorcycle underneath me, and I'm really trying to kind of move my body weight. I'm coming right at Warren here. That's a nice little camera angle. Nice job, Warren. I want to shift my body weight so I'm moving that bike around without too much kind of hopping my butt to the right and left of the seat, if that makes sense. So I don't want to get throwing my body around. I just want to get nimble. Why? Because I want to be nimble on the street. Something comes out, some car doesn't see me. I want to be very, very good at moving that bike to where I need to, basically, to stay away from the harm, away from the danger. Plus, these things are, just to be honest, it's something to do on the motorcycle. It's an improving skill, right? It's something that improves our ability to ride motorcycles. But it's also just kind of fun with toys, right? We like coming, seeing if we can do it, seeing if we can do it, an advance or a level up to these moves. It's all just people playing with toys. Last exercise of the day, exercise 9, the abominable snowman. So the snowman is typically 4 circles, but we still have our abandoned vehicle kind of in our way where we have them all marked. So here's Warren at the 18. Look how slow. Really, really good. Now he's in a Road King, like highly maneuverable, but it's a really nice move. So Warren's still getting his chops back after being away for a long time, and he just drills out the 18. That's hard. I mean, the 18-foot, an 18-foot U-turn is a challenge. An 18-foot circle is harder than an 18-foot U-turn. So now Warren's doing his rights. Everyone's got a strong side. I think the rights are, like with me, not his strong side, but really nice run there. So here's Mike from Vero. Mike from Vero has been with us, I don't know, 20 practice sessions, maybe 30, like a lot. Mike's, aside from Rich, he's probably our most consistent attendee. Watch him do the 18. He's done that 18, the top of that 18, maybe one other time. So super clean, really nice. You just never know when it's going to click, right? Gets a little wonky there, but really nice. Here's Rich. So good with his bike in these exercises. It's just that top of the snowman just confounds him. It's 100% a matter of a wheel placement. Getting that wheel over, see how much he's left, then he's got to commit. So I shouldn't say 100% wheel placement. It's about 80% wheel placement, if I had to pick, and then committing to the lean. Rich, man, that guy will lean that bike. He will lean that bike. But when you get to the top of the snowman, it gets weird, man, because you're going slow. You can't go fast. So when you get to the top, you gotta, as Robert says, see way inside. So Robert says, placement, hug 'em, commit. So placement, get that front tire very, very close to the cones, and we're practicing that here on the bigger circles, right? I'm trying to use all the real estate, as we say. Get the body position right, get it moving in the right direction. So placement, hug 'em, commit. Now I'm going too slow, and I did not commit. So almost made it, but almost doesn't count here. The commit part for me on the rights is a challenge. So I get to the top of that circle, that 18 foot, and getting my body in the right spot where I can feel comfortable really dipping the nose of that bike and bringing it around. The lefts, here I go on the left, good placement. I can dig it in right there and bring it around, kind of getting onto the side of the tires a little bit. Yeah, that comes around okay. I get my body off to the right, a little counter sit, it comes right around. It's the rights that continue to give me trouble. In fact, on this day, I get 0 right top of the snowman on the rights. I was 0 for 3 or 4. So here I am, too slow, right? There's no smoothness, and for me at my skill level, I'll just say that I need to have it smoother. So I don't want to be stopping at 25% into it. I want to get nice and rolling. I want to be in the friction point. I want to be able to bring it around. And that just didn't happen. Nope. All right, here's Warren taking another run. Here's the thing too, when we start to get into, I guess, fine point improvements, you can't, for me anyway, I'm talking to myself, I guess, or I think for most practitioners, you can't let yourself get so frustrated that you're like, screw it, and then you just like whip the bike around, and you end up, invariably, whenever I do that, the bike tells me who's boss. Like at that point, if I get kind of dumb and I want to really rip it, lean it down too far, and I hit the hard part, and I'll end up dropping the bike or skidding out somehow. So much of this is mental. It's just mental. It's like golf or basketball or volleyball or any other sport that any of you may participate in, baseball. It's having that mental headspace to properly execute the move. That's all. We could do this move 30 times, pretty successfully, and then next thing you know, you get 4 or 5 of them that just don't work, and you're just like, what? Okay, here's Mike. Now Mike, instead of doing both directions the first time, he quit while he was ahead. Now he's going to do the other direction. Now watch this. He leaves a lot of room and still makes it here.
Yep. What? He made it.
He just barely made it, man, but he made it.
What?
That's a first for Mike.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He blows this one.
Yep. Too late. Yep.
Almost drops it.
All right, that's a wrap. It's 11:44, and it's about 82 degrees. The fellas just took off. We got the cones and everything cleared up. We had 4 riders. We did a lot of letting the bikes cool and catching up. It's always fun. It's kind of a social thing as well, right? Hang out with your friends and BS a little bit about bikes. But we got through all 9 exercises. Mike on his BMW, Mike from Vero, first time ever did both directions, the top of the Snowman, the 18-foot circle. That was great. I still struggle with my rights, as I always do, so we'll continue to practice those. But everyone did great. Warren hadn't practiced in months, and he figured it out right away, just like riding a bike, as they say. All right, 72's in the books, and next time will be much better because we'll have Lori back.
Well, thanks for joining us for another Sebastian practice session. We hope you were able to pick up something useful, either what to do, what not to do, or both. Join us for future practice sessions where we always have new people at every skill level joining us. There's always something new to learn, and where we get just a little bit better every time we practice. Thanks again.